Hello. So in this video, we're going to talk about formatting an essay in APA style. So this video is not going to talk about APA citations, either in-text citations or references lists. I will make videos on those. They will be forthcoming. In this video, we're just going to focus on how to set up the paper in the style that APA requires. So for those of you who don't know, APA style is the American Psychological Association style. This is the style most commonly used in the social sciences and in many of the hard sciences. So not just psychology, but sociology, economics, political science, kinesiology, anthropology, all of these different disciplines, as well as some of the hard sciences, chemistry, mathematics, engineering, these kinds of things, tend to use an APA style. In terms of professional articles that you may encounter, some of these will use APA formatting, some of these will not, largely based on the house style of the journal that's being published. But especially for student authors, your instructors may be looking for papers formatted in this way. And I will talk a little bit about some of the differences between student papers and professionally written scholarly APA papers. So first, I'm going to share my screen here. So APA format generally uses a cover sheet. Not necessarily always. Particularly for students, your instructor may say, don't include a cover sheet. It depends. Some instructors will want it. Some instructors will say not to include it. If you don't get instructions one way or the other, I think it's up to you, but you can make your own decision. But this is what an APA cover sheet will look like for a student paper. So one thing, I'm going to talk about the heading in just a little bit, because actually on the next page, I've got a written description of this, but I'll show you also how to set this heading up. But on the cover page itself, part of the way down, in bold, you want the title of your paper. Then skip a line, list your name, the department and university for which this paper is being written. So if you were one of my students in English 202A, it would be the English department at Pennsylvania State University, or whatever it is. Sociology department, McGill University, anthropology department, Haifa University, whatever it is. Then the class that you're writing for, so again, my class is English 202A, writing for the social sciences, or whatever your class is. Then the name of your instructor, in this case my name, and the date the paper is being turned in. Some of this information obviously would not be there on a professionally published APA paper, but there would also be, so like the class obviously would not be listed if you were sending this into a professional journal of psychology, for instance. Obviously, a class would not be listed here. Your university affiliation and position would be on this title page. There would also probably be more professional information about you as an author. We're not going to go into that because I figure mostly this is going to be students watching this. So this is what a student essay cover page should generally look like in APA format. Now, when you get down to the actual essay itself, again, you're going to have the title bolded at the top of the first page. Then, and I've got a description here. If you want to read that, I mean, it basically just talks through the thing that I had just said. If you want to read that, you can on your own. I'll leave this up on the screen for a little bit, but basically that just explains the cover page that I just went over. The next thing is the header, which again is up here, this information that's in slightly lighter gray text. You want two things in the heading for an APA paper. although there's some distinction here. So the one thing you always definitely want is a page number listed in the top right-hand corner of the page. Then the other thing you have here is what's called a running head. This is a shortened version of the title. So in this case, the title of this paper that I'm working with here is APA Format, a Quick Guide. So the running head, the shortened version of the title, is just going to be APA Format. And we see this up here in all caps. Now, in order to insert this information, what you do, the easiest way to open the header bar is to just put your cursor in the top 1 inch of the Microsoft Word screen and double click. And that'll open up this menu here. This is the header and footer menu. And what you want to do is insert the page number. Now, you could, and I've seen students do this, put your cursor over here, right align your cursor, and type the number 1 on the first page. If you do that, the number 1 will show up on every page. It will not automatically count. So what you want to do, go over here to the page number section. Under top of page, put in plain number 3. So that's great. So that's now put in the page numbers that will automatically count on every page. Fantastic. Now, what I want to do, I actually don't want that one there. But what I want to do is set a tab, and I want to set a tab over here. So I'm going to put my cursor in the bottom third or so of this little ruler up here and double click. And that's going to open up this tab stop box. I've actually done a video on setting tab stops in the context of resumes, but it works the same way here. Now for my purposes, I'm just going to click OK, but then I'm going to drag this tab over here. And then when I press the tab button, press space and then tab, and that will take the cursor over here. And you want to press caps lock because your running head should be in caps lock, and put in your running head. And then that will show up on every page. So that's the way that this is supposed to be done. For student papers, you don't necessarily need a running head. If you just have the page number included, that's actually fine. But I don't see any good reason to not include a running head if you're also setting up the page number. But it's up to you. For the purposes of students' papers, you can just include a page number if you want to. So that's the running head. So that's one element that you should have here. When you get into the body of the APA essay, this should be double-spaced, so you can see this here. It is worth noting that contemporary Microsoft Word at time of filming in 2022 defaults to something like 1 2/3 spaces. If you want to use that, I imagine very few instructors are actually going to complain, but full double spacing, proper double spacing will actually space your paper out more. So one way you can do that is by either at the beginning before you start typing, or you can select the text and just press Control-2, or you can go to the font box, you can go to the paragraph box right here and select double spacing. You should have 1-inch margins all the way around your paper, and in order to set that, you can go to Layout. It's quite possible that 1-inch margins will be the default, but it's also quite possible that you will have something like 1 1/4 inch margins on one side or another. So you want 1-inch margins all the way around. In terms of font size, APA is reasonably flexible about fonts. The guideline seems to be that it should be readable, which is a fairly vague guideline, but some of the recommended options that I've seen are these ones listed here. Calibri 11, Arial 11, or Lucida Sans Unicode 10. So with font choices, I've done a video on font styles and sizes as well, but with font choices, one of the reasons that different sizes may be recommended is because not only do different fonts have different size letters, they also have different spacing between the letters. So these fonts and sizes are chosen so that the same amount of text will be roughly the same length. So those Calibri 11, Arial 11, Lucida Sans Unicode 10, those are sans serif fonts. And as I talked about in my video on fonts and font sizes, sans serif fonts are generally good for essays that or for text that's going to be read electronically. So if this is something that's being submitted digitally and you know it's going to be read digitally, a sans serif font may be your better option because it is more readable on a screen. On the other hand, there are serif fonts, and you can choose things like Times New Roman 12 or Georgia 11. Personally, I really like Bell MT 12, but that's not a very standard one. But that's another serif font. And serif, actually, this paper, apart from this section with the fonts, which are listed in the font and size that they are. So Calibri 11 is in Calibri size 11. The rest of this paper is actually in Times New Roman 12. Serif fonts are actually better for things that are going to be read in hard copy. So if you know the thing that you're going to be producing is going to be read physically on an actual page, a serif font is probably a better choice. In terms of what you choose, though, it really doesn't make that much of a difference one way or another. So if there's a font that you particularly prefer, you can definitely go for that. And then the last thing in terms of formatting that I want to mention is an indent paragraphs 1/2 inch. So that's your sort of basic elements of formatting an essay in APA style. That's generally the kinds of things that you need to know how to do in order to set up one of these essays properly.